Perhaps unfairly to the other 28 starters, this match between Leinster and Ulster was billed as the battle of the out-halves, with Ian Madigan coming face to face with fellow Irish international Paddy Jackson. Madigan was imperious in Leinster's win over Glasgow the previous week, Jackson less impressive as Ulster went down to Edinburgh. A bonus point win for Leinster would be enough to see them go back to the top, but Ulster, with the likes of Ruan Pienaar and Chris Henry back in the starting 15, would be tough to crack. After a tight opening quarter hour, Leinster finally got off the mark when Madigan, the league's top scorer, notched his first penalty of the night. Shortly after that, Ulster were penalised for going off their feet, and Madigan knocked his second penalty of the evening over. 6-0 to Leinster, and Joe Schmidt's side had made a solid, if unspectacular, start to the game. Then Ulster gained a foothold midway through the first half. Number 8, Nick Williams, caused the initial trouble for Leinster before Jackson spun the ball wide for Robbie Diack. 5'11" Dave Kearney was no match for 6'5" and 18-stone Diack when push came to shove. A well-worked try by Mark Anscombe's men, and even though Ruan Pienaar missed the conversion, Ulster were right back in it, trailing by just a point. In 26 minutes, the Ulster scrum was penalised by referee George Clancy, and Madigan made it 3 kicks out of 3. That put Leinster 9-5 ahead, Madigan showing why he's the tournament's top scorer with top-class kicking once again. However, a minute or so before half-time, Ulster were awarded a kickable penalty when Andrew Goodman was penalised for being in front of the kicker. And Pienaar made no mistake with the effort to once again close the gap to just 1 point. But there was still time for Madigan to fire one more penalty over at the other end to leave the score Leinster 12, Ulster 8 at the half-time break. As the teams emerged for the second half, a Fox showed the kind of speed on the wing that any team would be happy to have. He wasn't tackled, but he definitely put a foot in touch. Into the second half, Madigan and Pienaar swapped penalties to leave it 15-11. And then in the 57th minute, Pienaar had a chance to narrow the gap again when Leinster were penalised for not releasing. And the man from Bloemfontein was on target to leave just a point in it. Leinster now 15-14 ahead. Just past the hour mark, Ulster struck for their second try of the game. The men from Ravenhill were going through the phases, testing the Leinster defence. Pienaar, Jackson, and then Andrew Trimble were all involved. Trimble stopped just short of the line, but Pienaar was quickly on the spot to feed substitute Iain Henderson, who dived over by the corner flag. Henderson had only been on the field 5 minutes, and what an impact he'd made. Pienaar missed the conversion, but Ulster were ahead 19 points to 15. 10 minutes from time, Ulster's scrum collapsed, and Madigan kicked his 6th penalty from 6 of the game, the second time in a row where the out-half had scored all of Leinster's points. Madigan showing he's more than just a flashy hairstyle. It left Schmidt's men just 1 point behind with 8 minutes to play. But when Andrew Conway was penalised for tackling Paddy Jackson in mid-air, it allowed Pienaar extend the gap to 4 with a well-struck penalty.
He was still in the air when contact was made.
His value to this Ulster side once again being emphasised. Leinster finished the game camped in the Ulster 22, but Mark Anscombe's men defended as if their lives depended on it. They repelled wave after wave of Leinster attack right to the end. Cian Healy had the first go at getting over, and then there was a slightly bizarre finish to the match. Sean Cronin made a dive for the Ulster line. No try, said George Clancy, the referee, who proceeded to blow the final whistle. But while the Ulster players celebrated, the referee was persuaded to refer to the TMO.
Yeah, just double check it.
And the television match official confirmed Leinster's worst fears. No try, and the game was over.
George, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The ball was held up, no try.
No trouble.
The win, a first ever at the RDS and a first in Dublin in 14 years, is a huge boost for Ulster going into the last 3 matches of the Pro 12, but also into next week's Heineken Cup quarter-final against Saracens. For Leinster, the 100% home record has gone, and importantly they dropped to 3rd in the table with an away match against Munster next up. Final score at the RDS, Leinster 18, Ulster 22.